material plane, which also works in conjunction with the moon. So since we all have a strong code on everything as far as having emotional connection to, everything as far as like technology, money, anything that's physical, we all have a emotional connection to it. So sometimes, your emotions can deceive you. Just like, the person would say that the sky is purple if the color blue hurts their feelings. So we have to be rational so much to the point where we got to look in the state of reality and use our emotions as a navigation system to go about this great awakening journey. Because, you can't be so subjugated to the point where, your emotions is so acclimated. Oh, I need to get this money, or I can't drive my car, because when the grid goes down, you can't operate no vehicle after 1975, which is why NASA, they've been buying up a great amount of cars in the 1970s, because they already know what's going to be taking place. That's just part of the Luciferian Great Reset. So it's going to meaning that in order to withstand this great awakening period, you got to operate from 0 point energy and use your emotions as a navigation system to get you to the next level. Because a lot of this shit that we love and we like and we feel like we need is not going to be here. We're not going to be able to drive that Ferrari or the the Benz or the BMW. You're not going to be able to get that cryptocurrency, because it's going to be a transitional shift that's taking place.
So BDELL, like I said, we've been on here about 15 minutes. We got over 2,000 people on here, and I know there's a lot of new people that haven't heard this information before on here today. That's curious. What the hell does a solar flare erupted from the sun that's supposed to be so far away have to do with us, our body, our consciousness, and our society? Talk to me about the effect of solar flares on who we are, because everybody equates upgrades with solar flares. What is the solar flare to begin with, and its effect on us, BDELL?
Well, now the solar flares, they give off a velocity of Ethereum frequencies. And these Ethereum frequencies, when they collaborate with the carbon body, because the carbon is the building block of all civilization. So when you understand the inception of creation, because ether is the quintessential alchemical element, the fifth element, and when it merges in with the four basic elements, air, water, fire, earth, that is basically the foundation of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. That's equated to those four elements. So when you have ether merging in, it can cause creation or it can cause destruction, because spiritual energy is transmuted from the cosmos, which causes physical destruction. So what happens is, as far as like the carbon body, the ether activates the magnetic field of the planet, which is carbon, and it also activates the carbon body. So with that being said, your frequency has to be working in tandem with the evolution of the planet, because we all, been compromised from a biological standpoint when you're talking about these nanometals that's inside these foods and things of that nature. So it's all based on to subjugate the spiritual evolution of who you are. So that's why everything is pretty much, as far as the spiritual equilibrium of the planet, is basically been thrown off. So it's one of those things where you also got to understand is that the carbon body has many different transducers in it, right?
What's the transducer? What's the transducer?
A transducer is to where you're able to absorb an influx of energy.
Okay.
So like for instance, the best way I can explain it, I broke it down in my 144,000 video. I'm an engineer, and I do thermal engineering in my job. Everything that's conducive to westernized technology is actually an emulation of the original man. So thermoforming goes all the way back to ancient Kemet, right? So when you look at the carbon body, they have chambers of transducers, but it only operates through a certain energy field, meaning that it has to have an influx of energy that's going through a tunnel system. It's kind of like the same emulation of the Kundalini awakening. So when you have these Ethereum frequencies coming in, that is activating the neuroendocrine transducer, and it's activating the carbon body. So the neuroendocrine transducer activates the crystals within the body. So the same thing actually takes place when you're talking about production of distribution, when you're talking about thermal engineering and things of that nature. So the same thing actually takes place with our bodies. That's one thing that I noticed. I got that down low because they got different chambers, and it looks just like the chambers of the chakra system. And your chakra system is basically the epitome of the scroll of all. The scroll of all is basically the tablets of destiny. And the tablets of destiny is your Akashic records. So when you have these Ethereum frequencies coming in, it unlocks those 7 energy cortexes to where you can tap into the epigenetic body that was subjugated by the gematria body, because the gematria body was working in tandem with the Alpha Dracona star system under draconian law. Shit. You see what I'm saying? Which was why you have
wow, but I know a lot of people trying to keep up. So say that last part again, BDELL.
What I'm saying is like the Alpha Dracona star system is what I'm saying is like it was ruled under draconian law, which works in tandem with canon laws and ecclesiastical laws. So everything as far as that was connected to that energy of the gematria body, because the gematria body is connected to the simulation. The simulation was ruled by the Alpha Dracona star system. So the paradigm shift, you shift from the Alpha Dracona star system to the star Polaris.
Polaris, okay.
Yeah, so that's when you get the breaking out of the Kali Yuga cycle. You're no longer in the illusion no more.
And what is the Polaris ruled by? Because you told us the Alpha Draconis. What is Polaris star energy ruled by?
It's ruled by, that's the true spiritual sun. That's what, this is why they saying that we're
like some adjectives, like what, like, you know, like.
And so the North Star is basically like, the best way I can explain it, this is part of the esoteric codex of Freemasonry. You ever seen like the Freemasonic symbol? Because it basically it's talking about how the black sun, the sun, our original sun, and you got the moon, and then you got the star Polaris. The star Polaris gives a vibrational energy to all those celestial bodies. That's that's what's taking place. So that's why you having a spike in the Schumann resonance. That's why you having many different seismic activities on the planet when you're talking about earthquakes. This is all an activation from the star Polaris.
Okay.
That is the true spiritual sun that's outside the dome. So the sun and the moon that you see in our inside the firmament, which is inside the simulation, are basically simulators. They're buffers. They're basically buffers.
I don't know if I've asked you this before, but if the sun is getting different light from Polaris, does that mean we're getting different light from the moon as well? Or is the moon the same moonlight from the age of Pisces?
It's the same moonlight from the age of Pisces, because like I said, it's based on the law of polarization. So the sun, the spiritual sun is actually giving all fractions of light. But due to the fact that the Alpha Dracona star system was ruling this whole the last 24,000 year equinox period under the Kali Yuga cycle, that's when, you know what I'm saying, like that's where you get your whole symbology of the Saturn moon matrix. Because the moon in itself was working in tandem with the Alpha Dracona star system, which is ruled by the Majestic 12 and the Orion group and things of that nature. So those are the ones, as far as like the archons, when you study Gnosticism, they're basically saying that they are the ones who control the simulation in itself. So an archon or a draconian or a cherubim, a 200 fallen angel, those are basically the same entities, but they just have different nomenclature titles. And they were basically the progenitors of the simulation that was ruled by the Alpha Dracona star system that controlled the moon.
So BDELL, so you know, there's this concept of as above, so below, as within, so without. We hear so much when we study our ancient history and our ancient teachings, mysticism and whatnot. If let's say the solar flares did knock out the technology that we are using in the external, we know that the external is an emulation of the internal. So if it knocked something out in the external realm, did it knock something out that was maybe we didn't need in the internal realm, BDELL?
I believe my brother Rod Hayes, I believe he had touched on it. He had said it's basically dematerializing the selfish gene. Because in order to get to the next level, like I said, you got to use your emotions as a navigation system to where you're operating at 0 point energy. So you have to basically dematerialize the selfish gene, because in order to go forth in this great awakening period, you would need a harmonic convergence, meaning that we have to be operating from a place of self-preservation. So we got to be, you know, we got to come together in order to combat the energy of everything that's taking place on the planet.
Somebody in the chat, and my lady said this earlier, they was like, Let me get my landline back up and hope for the best. Yo, is that something we seriously need to reconsider? Having landlines again? What's your thoughts on that, BDELL?
Well, since landlines, because it's all connected to the electrical grid, in order to work in tandem with the frequencies that's collaborating with the planet, you would need to get a satellite phone. That's why
I was going to ask about that. Okay, what is that? What is a satellite phone?
A satellite phone basically is it's its own autonomous system that's not connected to the electrical grid system.
Okay.
So a satellite phone, I guess it works with the satellites that's outside of the fermented dome. I'm believing. I'm not sure.
Is that Elon Musk shit, or is that something else? Satellite phone.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I just know that in 2022, because what you gotta understand is that the universe is mathematical. So today is 222. Yes. February 22nd. So February 22nd is also the epitome of a interstellar vortex portal of different frequencies coming in. So it's not a coincidence that in the year of 2022, that's when you have 50 members of Congress and 50 members of Senate. They all got satellite phones, and that was also the same year they did the cyber polygon simulation, and that's basically showing you how, just in case the simulation or just in case the electrical grid goes down. So there's a numerical connection to everything that's actually taking place in real time that took place 2 years ago.
Right. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Shit. How do we even go about getting a satellite phone? You know anything about that?
No, probably best place to probably get one. Hell, you probably might get one off the dark web if you know how to navigate that, or you go on Amazon and look for one.
Right.
But just like Dr. Phil said, get a Faraday cage in order to protect some of your technological devices.
Yeah, he did say
that. For that, brother.
Yeah, shout out to Dr. Phil Valentine. All right. So what you think about let me put this on the screen real quick, BDELL. Let me see. This is interesting because the same day hold up. The same day we're doing a show on this and all this is going on, and is that something that's because I know you mentioned the firmament, so I know your views might be different from traditional views. What's your thoughts even on us going to the moon as well as this article? BDELL?
I think that article is all cap. And the reason I say that is because the moon is actually a interstellar vortex portal for reincarnation purposes that works in synergy with the Saturn, with the rings of Saturn. When you're talking about the magneto-hydrodynamic rings of Saturn, which creates the subatomic particles of the holographic projection that controls the simulation in itself. So what happens is like the moon is actually a artificial celestial megastructure, and it's a quantum satellite that controls the simulation and the electrical grid system at the same time. So that's why I said I don't really give my energy into articles like that, because like I said, they lied about, westernized history, and they created, academic fraud and many different things that basically subjugated us on a mental level and in a psychological level. So it's one of those things where I kind of, I don't really give my credence to westernized curriculum or education systems, or just as far as like its information or historical context.
Indeed. BDELL, real quick. Andrea wants to know, is this causing headaches? Is this having effects like that? Talk about that, BDELL.
Yeah, most definitely, because like I said, you have that the spiritual sun is activating the magnetic field of the planet, and it's also activating the magnetic field of the brain. Magnetic field of the brain, and the magnetic field of the brain is connected to the neocortex, and what happens is it's putting pressure upon the neuroendocrine transducer to where it activates those crystals in the brain. So the ether that's merging in with the planet, the ether that's merging in with the magnetic field of the brain, where you get your term pressure makes diamonds, right? Because this is where you go into a state where you're able to crystallize due to the fractions of light that's coming to the planet from the X-class solar flares. So that Ethereum frequency is causing you to be in a state of evolution. So you're supposed to be evolving. You're supposed to be eating less. You're supposed to be resting a lot more, drinking a lot more water. you're supposed to be doing anything to where you can open up those energy cortexes to where you can get those energies coming in.
Indeed, indeed. You know, one thing I noticed, BDELL, is that when I first came down to Georgia, I came down to Georgia in 2022. It's 2024. When I came down to Georgia in 2022, one of the things, I'm riding in the whip with my lady, and we noticed the clouds are so grand. And we're like, wow, these are big clouds. We're used to New York. We're not used to seeing so like detailed clouds in the sky. Fast forward 2 years later, 2024, all I damn near see is chemtrails in the sky. I barely see clouds. It's majority chemtrails, a little bit of clouds. What I want to ask you about is, with this Polaris system coming into place, does that mean we're going to get less clouds? What's the history of clouds? Because I've heard people mention that in antiquity, we didn't have clouds like we had now. So if we're going in the golden age, does that mean less clouds? And this is why they have to create fake clouds with the chemtrails, BDELL?
The reason they're doing that is because our atmosphere is transitioning into an omicron state, meaning that it's going into a state of fourth octave ether. Whew. So fourth octave ether, meaning that, you know, it's going to cause a vibration in the atoms in the atmosphere, which speeds up the unity conscious aspect. So this is why the great majority of people like getting headaches and getting body aches and stuff. These are spiritual symptoms. So the atmosphere is changing. So that means that we are changing. So that's why time is speeding up. Well, initially, time is not actually speeding up. Our vibration is starting to speed up to where we basically dematerialize time. So it's one of those things where, like I said, the atmosphere is starting to change. And in order to block out these frequencies, they got to spray out these chemtrails. They got to spray out the barium and things of that nature in the atmosphere in order to block out these frequencies. Because as I told you, technology and metals, they subjugate spiritual energy. That's what they try to block out.
Indeed. Indeed. Now let me ask you this one that somebody, hold up, some of the chat is popping tonight. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I had a super chat question I want to get to. Okay, about dreams. Do you think what's going on with the flares, if it's affected technology, is it affecting our dreams as well, BDELL?
Well, it's one of those things where, because you got to be very meticulous of everything, how it takes place in the energy extraction matrix, because a lot of things, you know, they have technology to where they can alter and input certain things inside of your dreams. So it's one of those things where you got to use your discernment to decipher, is this a real download that I'm getting, or is this being something that's being facilitated by westernized technology? So the dream, so the solar flares in itself is one of those things where, like I said, it activates the neuroendocrine transducer to where it activates the master gland, which is the hypothalamus gland. So when you're able to activate that energy and you activate that crown chakra, that's when you can tap into the quantum realm. And when you tap into the quantum realm, that's when you get into, you see certain things, you see beyond the illusion, you start to be able to do remote viewing, you know, you're able to control your dreams. So these solar flares, these CMEs that's coming in, like I said, it's one of those things where one of the things is, you know, the foundation of the simulation is what you got to understand is when you go to the book of Genesis, it tells you how Satan separated the intergalactic waters from the third dimension, where he created a firmament. So the firmament itself was the spiritual cutoff. So your spiritual cutoff was due to the fact that now you're not able to tap into your higher abilities when you're talking about telepathy, clairvoyance, psychometry, levitation. If you really tapped in, those energies was acclimated to the star, you know, to the spiritual sun that's outside of the dome. So that's what happened.
It was acclimated to which spiritual sun that's outside the dome?
I'm saying that energy is tapped into the energy, the spiritual energy outside of the dome. As far as like the spiritual sun, the star Polaris is what gives you that energy. The Alpha Draconis star system is what subjugated you to the gematria body that connects you to the simulation. It's basically it's basically like a form of spiritual entrapment. So now these energies is coming in because the sun is almost at solar maximum. They say in between now in 2025 when the sun is at solar maximum. So it's not a coincidence that they've been putting out these movies that works in tandem with the electrical grid going down. because they know that when the sun is at solar maximum, it can cause revolution, it can cause anarchy, it can cause many different things.
Indeed.
Just like you had the 1781 French Revolution.
Right.
So you get it. So that all works in conjunction with the solar eclipses that we talked about at one point in time when we was on the channel. Because when you look at the solar eclipses, these are basically energy points, and they form the anarchy symbol. And when you understand symbolism, symbolism is not only subjected to a one-dimensional meaning; it has many different meanings, double meanings. So it's also showing you the sigil of the Antichrist, and it's also showing you the symbolism of anarchy that's going to be taking place on the geographical landmass of America. So you got these energies coming in. So this is why you having a colliding of dimensions. So the three-dimensional world of the Piscean age, they're trying to keep up with the fifth dimensional age of consciousness. So that's why everything as far as like their technology or their agenda or their psychological operations or these black swan events, they're basically trying to emulate the spiritual energy that's coming in. So that's why people are not able to delineate, is it a CME or is it an EMP? Because the elites, the plutocracy, they base their agendas based on celestial alignments to where they can be like, we're going to do it this time. Because if we do it at this time, they ain't gonna know it's a CME. They ain't gonna know it's a CME. They gonna think it's the EMP. They gonna think it was Russia. They gonna think it was China. That's how they do that. They're basically trying to hide their hand as as we're going through reset. That's what they doing.
Wow. I seen somebody wrote earlier on Instagram. It might have been Instagram. Shout out to whoever wrote this. I don't know if it's Instagram or my YouTube when I posted this in my community tab. They said it seems like these solar flares only knock out cell phones in the U.S. Is this a geographical thing? Is this? I don't know if people worldwide got affected by this, or if this is just some nationwide thing. Is that anything you could elaborate on? Globally being affected, or just nationwide?
Well, people got to understand the dichotomy between CME and the EMP. An EMP can knock out the electrical grid system in a certain geographical area. And CME has the ability to knock out the power grid all over the planet.
Right.
That's the difference. So I looked on chat rooms and forums on Reddit to see if it was like the grid was going out, not just here, or if it was having cell phone problems in other places or whatever, but it was only just subjected to here. Because I remember back in 2022, they said the World Economic Forum said verbatim that it's inevitable that we're going to have a cyber attack. So now this gets me to this point. I almost forgot about it.
Oh yeah.
Now when I looked up the numerical gematria codex for the word ATT, the numerical value of gematria for it is 201. So that's connected to Event 201, which was facilitated by the World Economic Forum. So the World Economic Forum are the same organization and entity that told us about this so-called cyber attack. So this is all connected to everything as far as like the simulation that's taking place. It's all connected to their Luciferian Great Reset.
Right. I also seen an article I want to share real quick. Because a lot, like I said, family, a lot's going on in a short amount of time, and we got to do our own. We got to have our own think tank. Mainstream media has their think tank. Dr. Phil Valentine.
That's why I said, because they know the dimensions are basically colliding. So you got the see what's happening is you have the plutocracy, the oligarchs. You have this deep state shadow government. They need a so-called false flag in order to create this cybernetic dictatorship as we transition into this Great Awakening period, because they know that their time is up. So what they do is they mirror everything that's connected to the spiritual energy of the planet. So I got a different article, but it was a lady who works in the pharmaceutical industry. She sent me something like that today. So it's one of those things where, a cyber attack and and something that's intrinsic happening when you're talking about these ethereal frequencies coming in and manipulating the grid system. It's one of those things where, man, they're just basically trying to mirror everything that's actually taking place in the spiritual world. That's all they're doing.
Indeed.
It's because what's basically looking like, because we just got out of the Piscean age of darkness. It's like one of those things where best way I can explain it, the best analogy, it's like a person when you know it's time for them to get up from the table after they get done eating and they don't want to move. That's what that's what the Piscean age is doing, because now we in the Aquarian age. So the age of Pisces, they don't want to get up from the damn table. And they know, like I said, that's what's
right. Right. Oh man. Let's keep it going, y'all. This is weird. I'm having a good time tonight. Let me get to another super chat question. This is from Aaliyah Bay. Shout out to Aaliyah Bay. Aaliyah Bay wants to know, BDELL, how does the solar flares connect with the Galactic Council and their message from 1976? I have no idea what that is. What she's talking about, my brother?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if she was referring to, I think that was around the time when they had World War II, I believe. And it was something to where it was an atomic bomb and they almost cracked the earth and then almost manipulated plans that took place inside these subterranean kingdoms when you're talking about the Rainbow City and the city of Argartha, because they have a galactic council inside the planet. And when you understand like Tibetan mythology, it goes into that. So I'm not sure if she's talking about that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Leah, if you could elaborate on what exactly you're talking about, and I guess the brother BDELL will get right back to it, but yeah, just elaborate to that. All right, let's get to let me see what because I was about to ask a question, but I see they popping in the chat. We got 3,000 people. They popping in the chat. Okay, let me ask this. This is we gotta talk with each other tonight. What do you recommend during these solar flares, BDELL? Meditation, crystals, etc. What should we do while this is going on?
Well,
besides get on Instagram and talk about it.
Right. Yeah, this is one thing I tell. This is what I've been doing for myself right now. I'm for the next few days. I'm going on a juice fast in order to absorb these energies, because one thing that I noticed lately, the atmosphere has been really heavy. So in order to combat that, trying to deviate from food. If you do have to eat some food or whatever, eat some fruits, some vegetables or whatever, go into a steam room, speed up your vibration. Go to a steam room, because it's going to unlock certain energy blockages. And meditation is very key. It's very imperative that you do meditation, because it's going to help you stay in the present as time is starting to speed up. Well, as your vibration is speeding up, it's going to make it seem like time is speeding up. So meditation keeps you in the present. So also get you some malachite. Malachite crystal is conducive to the heart chakra. Get you some moldavite crystals. It's conducive to the heart chakra. So these ethereal frequencies coming in, it works in tandem with that same energy. It all works in conjunction with those crystals. So get you malachite, because it'll protect your morphogenetic field.
Yeah. Let me this is something that everybody just thinks automatically. They think about superpowers. This person like, where do we get our superpower? You know what's funny though, BDELL, and the reason why I put this on the screen, what's interesting, one thing that I noticed picked up with me personally, and everybody gets affected differently during these times, is that how we have call ID on our phones, and we know I got like a spiritual call ID, BDELL, where in my phone ring, I'm like, that's this nigga right there, or that's so and so. Yo, BDELL, I swear, I've been right. Like I would say 70% of the time, I got a 70% accuracy right now. Where if a person call me, an MF call me, I could guess who it is. I think I'm at 70% right now. You know what I'm saying? So talk to us for this. Me saying that to say, with this person question, what's your thoughts on our quote unquote superpowers, BDELL?
That star Polaris is giving, that's that true spiritual sun giving off that true spiritual energy. That's where you get your intrinsic abilities from. So like I said, it's not a coincidence that you have these X-class solar flares. It's going to activate the X gene, which turns you into an X-man. So so that's basically working in tandem. Like I said, a lot of people are going to start seeing a lot more of the spiritual abilities come online as we go into this great awakening period. Because when the sun is at solar maximum, it's going to, like I said, the planet is activating. So with that being said, if you're connected to the planet by way of your genetics, what makes you not think that you're going to get activated as well?
Indeed. That's facts.
So it's one of those things where, like I said, that's happened to me a few times. Sometimes, like I said, you know, it's going to be one of those things where you can walk into a room and you will be able to know who don't like you, who's going to like you without even them open up your mouth. That's just you being able to read energy. You know what I'm saying? And I also reiterated this in my last video because, you know, ether, the fifth element.
Fifth element, yeah.
So when ether collaborates with carbon, it basically causes a interface transition within the simulation, which manipulates the electrical grid system. So just like you have these Ethereum frequencies coming in and you have these X-class solar flares coming in, what happens is when it's not only just going to be subjected to the planet. When you at work, you're going to see a malfunction of technological devices because of your energy. Because the planet is not just getting activated, we are getting activated as well. And as soon as the plutocracy and these oligarchs notice that the energy of the chosen ones, that's while they at work, it's going to be like I'm telling you, you're going to be at work. It's nothing is everything is going to start working at some point in time. I don't know if it's going to happen today, tomorrow, in the next 10 years or whatever. The energy is going to be so potent to the point where you stand next to something, it's going to throw off the vibrational frequency of it. It's going to manipulate it. It's going to manipulate everything as far as the simulation.
BDELL, I want you to give some important advice to the chosen ones. When you say the chosen ones, the people who are tapped in at this time. Everybody's not tapped in, unfortunately, but you know they will be, whether this lifetime or next lifetime. Your message to the chosen ones who have a 9-to-5, BDELL. I'm currently not at a 9-to-5. I work from home. Yeah, everybody knows I do the internet thing. I've been doing it for a while. What I know, a lot of people who are tapped in, BDELL, it's very difficult for them to maintain a 9-to-5. It seems as though they stand out like a sore thumb at the job. When they come to the job, everybody notices them. Everybody's staring and looking at them. Just everything that they do is amplified or magnified or whatever word you want to use. So it's like they got to watch everything they do because it's like, hey, I see you. What you doing? Make sure it almost seems it's like the Truman Show. So what would your advice be for the people who are tapped in, the chosen ones, people who are illuminated, or the many other phrases we use for those who still are on the 9-to-5 and they are very uncomfortable at their 9-to-5, BDELL?
Well, best way
because they're about to be super tapped in, my brother. Good, they're about to be super tapped in. So yeah,
right. Well, from my own understanding, as far as the energy extraction matrix, you have people who are implants, meaning that they're basically agents of the simulation. So as whether, you know, being a police officer, that's a program. Working, you know, being a doctor, everything that's, you know, around you in the simulation is a program. So when you have people who's connected to the energy extraction matrix by being an agent, when you have somebody who has an authentic energy, when you come into their presence, it's one of those things where it throws off their frequency because it's like seeing a real one from a fake one. And a lot of times your energy is going to make them very combative. It's going to make them very cynical, and it's going to make them, you know, just, you know, micromanage you when you at the job. Is one of those things where they're just basically trying to pick on you because they're able to see that, you know, you have an authentic energy. And it's like one of those things where it's weird, you know what I'm saying? People just want to pick on people or, you know, and micromanage them just because of the energy that they possess. So it's a form of it's a spiritual attack, a spiritual attack, I should say.
Yo, speaking of technology, This, you know, I love interacting with y'all because we all if you obviously if you're tuning into this channel, you're tapped in or you want to be tapped in. Even if you're a troll, you want to be tapped in. Even if a person to say, "Oh, this is just entertainment," bullshit, my nigga. You want to be tapped into this information. You know what I mean? If I'm sitting around watching gay shit all day, that shit ain't entertainment. I want to be gay, goddammit. So you got to be honest about the things you watch and give your attention to. You want that shit. So the first step is honesty. We want to be able to tap into these things that BDELL is talking about. Let's stop acting like this is entertainment or this is just whatever. We want this shit. We feel it inside of us, y'all. So with that being said, that leads to this comment right here. Segment Fire Goddess says, when my child and I do hand mudras, the lights and computers go crazy. Yo, I told this story. I told this to Dr. B Serious like last year, I think. I never forget one time, bro, when I'm in my early 20s, BDELL. I do this mudra. It's dark. I'm listening to my music. I'm vibing out in the dark. I'm doing it like this meditation in the dark with the music. And I just start doing mudras. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing, but I just start doing them. And the computer turned on. Oh, that shit scared the shit out of me. I stopped doing mudras for like 7 years after that, brother. But talk to me about our ability to tap into our technology, how that can make our computers go haywire, our computers turn on or off, our appliances turn on or off. What does me or somebody else doing mudras, how can that cause our computers to turn on, brother? I find that very interesting, and a couple of people have experienced that.
Well, like I said, you know, the highest form of technology is the carbon body of the original man and the original woman. So it's one of those things where when you do certain mudras, it creates like a certain energy field all around you, to where it creates a spiritual protection from anything that's basically acidic to the body, as far as like electrical energy. So it's one of those things where it's like it creates a force field, and that force field has its own vibration, and that vibration becomes a form of magnetism that manipulates technological devices. So, like I said, it's one of those things where your energy can cause a interface transition.
Right.
It can make things on as far as the simulation can cause a glitching of the system.
So, do you think, with that being said, is it far-fetched to say, BDELL, that the rock, what we call the rock in urban America, do you think that contributed contributed to the huge success of Rockefeller, them continuously doing this mudra, manipulating or changing the energy field around them? Do you think that contributed a lot to their success? Jay and Dame and all of them.
I'm pretty sure yeah, because like I said, everything is all about energy. So like I said, you change your energy, you change your vibration, that vibration becomes magnetism. So certain symbols and certain signs and symbols and sigils is able to where you can tap into a form of magnetism through the law of attraction. So it was one of those things. The same thing actually take place with our biological structure, as far as not being an entertainment or whatever.
Indeed. Oh man, wow. This good show. Let me get to we got about 15 minutes left. This is an amazing show. Let me make sure I don't want to add. All right, so let me ask you about this, BDELL, before, because I want to get to a couple of questions from the people before we get out of here. Okay. In terms of the towers, the cell phone towers, the towers that we see, let me pull up something real quick, BDELL. You know, I'm gonna ask this question. Let me let you answer another question because I want to I want to pull something up. In the meantime, Genius wants to know, what do you think about the mycelium network? Let me pull this up. Go ahead, brother.
I'm not sure what's the put me on game.
That's like the mushroom kingdom. Dr. B talks about that. It's like the organic internet highway.
I haven't never really got into that.
Okay. Let me get another question real quick. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Somebody said, can someone I think he answered this already. Can someone perform a mudra to harness your energy? Yeah, I think we just touched on that. Yeah, we were just touching on that with the whole Rockefeller thing. All right. Let me see. All right, this is something common. You can touch on. You might have touched on this before. Even the ringing in the ears. This another spiritual system, or is it just you know, we looking too deep into it, BDELL?
Like I said, it's one of the, like, it can, you know, certain nano metals within our molecular structure, when it's collaborating with different frequencies, as far as like particle energy weapons that's coming from the grid system and coming from our technological devices, it can cause a manipulation as far as like your hearing. So sometimes it can be something spiritual, or sometimes it can be something that's where you're being attacked from a technological standpoint. So sometimes it's not only subjected to you trying to tap in and be online with the ancestors. It can be one of those things where you're being manipulated by way of frequency warfare. So that's why it's imperative, like I said, you got to put yourself in alignment. You know, do a detox and get these metals out of your body, so you're not able to be manipulated neurologically.
Right. No, definitely, definitely, indeed. All right. So with, let me put this on the screen. Give me a second.
With the Ethereum frequencies that's coming from the spiritual sun. So
Right.
it's one of those things where, man, it's important to have that energy. So don't cut your locks if you got them. I've been rocking this same haircut for a long time. So
hey, same with me, my brother. I can't grow locks. This is who Brother Rich is right here. I'm gonna keep it right. I don't like to keep. I can't do that. That's too much to keep up with, man.
Right.
It's a lot of people. Shout out to everybody with the locks, maintaining their antennas, maintaining their crown. Shout out to the brother Red Pill, Blue Pill's growing his crown. KT, everybody, man. Shout out to the brothers with the crown doing their thing. Respect all you brothers and sisters out there. Let's get to some more questions from y'all before we get out of here. Oh my God, what a wonderful show tonight. What a wonderful show. Let's keep it moving. Let's see what let's see. Give me some questions in the chat, y'all. Okay, somebody wants to know, what can we do to prepare for the ships that come in?
Well, first you have to delineate a ship from, you got to know which ones is being facilitated by the government, because the ones that are created by the government, they have ambient light or white lights. And then the ones, as far as the shams that's coming from the Galactic Federation, they have multiple lights. They have lights that has a different color spectrum because it works on crystal technology. So in order to prepare yourself for the shams or whatever, is one of those things where you got to put yourself in alignment to where, if they're going to be able to utilize you. Because a lot of people, when it comes to, like, when you get into monotheistic religion, or when you get into just UFOlogy or whatever, a lot of people believe like, oh, the ancestors are going to save me just because I got melanin. It don't work like that. Are you able to be utilized in the Great Awakening period? It's like the same thing as a job. What can you do? Are you a good electrician? Are you good? You know, are you a good journeyman? Are you a good, you know, a maintenance man? How can we utilize you? How can we utilize you in this Great Awakening period?
Right.
That's what it's about.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm glad you say that. People be like, oh, I'm black. This is gonna happen. No, it don't work that. No, it's not that. No,
right.
No.
It don't work like that, baby.
No. And shout out to everybody who watched this channel. Every organism down here has melanin, some more than others. Y'all see Brother Rich is light skinned, but I pack a lot of melanin in this avatar that I have. So shout out to everybody down here who's tapped into this channel, who's experiencing this conscious awakening. It's a beautiful thing to experience, family. I don't know what this is. I hope you do. Oh, no, not that. Sorry, Aisha. Where's it at? Will we have another Carrington event due to the solar flares this year? What is that, BDELL?
I think the last Carrington event was like in, I believe it was in 1870. It was some around in the 1800s. But yes, we're going to have another Carrington event. That's when I think the whole electrical grid went down. So the same thing is actually going to transition, you know, as we in the Great Awakening period. Because like I said, this is solar cycle 25. 2 + 5 = 7. So 7 is the epitome of completion. So this is the completion of a artificial simulation as we segue into the age of Aquarius. So it's one of those things where we are going to have intrinsic amount of solar flares that's going to be hitting the planet. into where it's going to cause a quarantine event. So we got to be ready for it.
Right. Indeed. Somebody said light skin. Now Richie don't damn. No, we having a good time on this channel. Shout out to everybody. Like I said, shout out to everybody. Okay. Somebody wants to know, what is your prediction on how the Anunnaki are going to interact with us?
Like I said, a lot of these beings, their perception is being altered to the point where, like I said, they're not emotional. If you watch the TV series, The Man Who Fell to Earth, that species, or where he came from, he was very he had many different afflictions when he came down to the three-dimensional world, because he didn't understand the chaotic energy of humans having emotions. He thought it was a form of insanity. So the same thing actually takes place when you're talking about these galactical beings and these supreme beings, or whatever you want to call them, cherubim, angel, seraphim in the Bible. These supreme beings, like I said, that they don't operate from a place of emotion. So it was one of those things where they're very neutral. It's to the point where, like I said, are they going to be able to utilize you in this great awakening period? It's not going to, because like, oh, you connect to my bloodline, you my homie. It don't work like that. It's one of those things where it's just like, I can utilize you because you're able to build structures that absorb cymatic frequencies to manipulate the grid system. We're going to utilize you because you're able to dish out a certain edification. We're going to utilize you because you're a healer, and we need you to heal people with intrinsic herbs and elements and minerals and stuff like that. That's what's going to be taking place. It's one of those things where it's not going to be subjected to. They're just going to be saving people, just be saving people. But you can't really look at it from a place from a savior complex. You got to be able to save yourself as well.
Right. Do you think they want to know? Do you think it's dangerous to look at a solar eclipse? I know something's happening in April. I think April 8th this year.
Mm-hmm. I told people in my last video on my channel, I told them, I said it's a very imperative to go to these ancient mounds, because you have America, in the geographical landmass of America, there's over 2,000 pyramids, and you only got 200 plus over in Africa. So you got mounds and pyramids all throughout the geographical landmass of America, especially where the next solar eclipse is going to be at, and on April 8th. I'm like right in the heart of it. And in that area, there's a lot of mounds. There's a mound where I live at here called Angel Mounds. So that's where I'm going to be during the time of a solar eclipse. I'm going to be at the mounds, because a solar eclipse is basically the personification of the return of the ancestral energy. Right. So you want to get those energies that's coming in.
Excellent.
So it's imperative. Go to these ancient sites. When a solar eclipse, go to you in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Mm-hmm. I'll go up there. Go to a mound in your city. If you live in the Mississippi area, there's Mississippi mounds all throughout the Mississippi River or whatever. If you live in East St. Louis, there's a lot of pyramids in that area. Go to these ancient sites and these structures so where you can receive these energies.
You know, it's funny about the energy that just hit the planet today with the cell interruption. Yeah, I just went to Stone Mountain yesterday. I went there yesterday. I haven't been there in months. I just went there yesterday. I was there in the afternoon. I just decided to go there. You know, because I told BDELL, listen, fam, I talked to last time I talked to BDELL. I get inspired by everybody. BDELL stressed to me the importance of him working out his avatar. And we was just talking. We was like, yo, what's good with you? We like, yo, what's good with you? How you doing on your end of the earth? BDELL's like, yo, I'm working on my avatar, you know, da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, I got to work on that. I'm like, yo, BDELL, that's something that I'm you know, I got to work on and step my game up on. So I've been doing that more, BDELL, working on my avatar, letting my blood circulate, you know, getting the oxygen in all my cells. And I'm like, you know, I'm gonna hit Stone Mountain at least once a week. And I went there yesterday and it felt good. So shout out to everybody who lives next to something like that, a park or a mountain. Make sure y'all hit those up, y'all. Make sure y'all hit those up. It's very important that we connect back with nature.
I want to reiterate this again. So it's very imperative that people understand that if you Do not just stay in the house during the solar eclipse. Like I said, go to a mound, go to those a pyramid structure, go to these ancient structures where our ancestors, had the land. We were connected to the land at that point in time. Go to those ancient structures to where you can receive these ancestral energies. That's
Indeed.
important.
Oh yeah, indeed. Let's get to a super chat. What about we just talked. What about? Well, I gotta ask this because it's a super chat question. What about the solar eclipse coming in April? Is it going to affect anything like this solar flare? I don't even get the question. Is it going to affect? Oh, is it going to affect things like this solar flare? Yeah. Will it knock something out? Are we
No, it's basically going to activate a certain energy in that certain area.
Okay.
That's what's going to happen.
Okay. Definitely. Somebody said, Rich, you been to Indian Springs yet? No, I have to go there. Red Pill was telling me about it. I definitely have to go there, and I plan on going there. So thanks for reminding me. I will definitely get there sometime this year. Let's get to another question from the BDELL. They want you to explain the soul trap. What is the soul trap, BDELL?
A soul trap. So now, when you understand the Saturn Moon matrix, everything as far as the material plane works in conjunction with the moon. The moon is an interstellar vortex portal for reincarnation. So that's why the great majority of monotheistic religion, MON, is connected to the energy of MOON, the moon. So as far as religion, it all works on the Sabbath. So religion is actually a form of spiritual entrapment because it keeps you subjugated and entrapped of a spiritual box. Because that's when you open up a cube, it becomes a crucifix. Then you got the Star of David, and then you got the Kaaba and Mecca. All these is different forms of spiritual entrapment to subjugate you from a spiritual level to where you're not tapping into your intrinsic abilities on a spiritual level. So also having an emotional attachment to everything in the material plane is a form of a soul trap. Because like I said, when you're going through a process of reincarnation, if you had a veneration for cheeseburgers, right? So when they're going to create that holographic projection, when it's time for you to go in that white light, that's another way to bring you right back here. So like I said, you got to use your emotions as a navigation system in order to deviate from this matrix system. That's how you do it. You got to be balanced.
Indeed. I'm glad you said it like that, my brother. Let's get to one last question, then we're gonna get out of here, family.
That makes me understand why those when we were talking about altars, that's why those certain spirits keep coming back. I know this one girl, she puts tea down, for her grandmother, you know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where anything that's inanimate objects, it makes you come back to this realm. You don't want to have an emotional connection. You want to get away from this realm. You want to deviate from it.
Oh wow. All right, BDELL, last question. This from the sister Leah again. Shout out to Leah. Very active in the chat, supporting everything. I
thought she be supporting my channel too.
Yes, okay. Yeah, that's what's up. So okay. So she for real. Aaliyah wants to know, can you ask BDELL, what about single moms who work and homeschool? How do you suggest they prepare for the shift, BDELL? There's a lot of sisters in this situation, BDELL. What's your advice?
It's one of those things where now, since we're at the apex of, the matriarch, you need a man, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things like, I forgot what verse it said in the Bible. It says that a lot of women are going to cling on to one man or something like that, 4 women to 1 man. But it's one of those things where you would need a divine masculine in order to, to balance that energy out. Because it's one of those things where you can't look at this Great Awakening period in a form of individualism. You know what I'm saying? You need that counterpart, because just like in the movie Matrix, in order for Neo to get to the next level and escape the Matrix, he needed that divine feminine. Just like in the last Matrix movie that came out, he was able to escape because he had that divine feminine counterpart for him to get to the next level. So the same thing actually takes place with single women. So you need both energies, because the divine feminine and the divine masculine, that creates a tetrahedron energy. And that tetrahedron energy is the same energy to where you escape the matrix system. So you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where you need that counterpart in order to, you know what I'm saying, to where you can tap into the ability of being the best version of yourself so you can be the best version for your children.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man, what a show, y'all. What a show, what a show, what a show. We still got about 3,400 people in the building. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I'm glad I got an opportunity to get to a lot of your questions. I asked questions I want to ask, but I got to y'all's. That's important because I know this is an important event and things going on in the future. I want everybody to know how to maneuver, what to do. I guess the last thing I would ask BDELL before we get out of here, any recommendation about everybody's diet is different, everybody's blood type is different. In terms of any recommendations you would give on a diet, not just be a vegan, but any recommendations on a particular diet to get some of these sun rays that's coming in, these downloads or anything like that? What do you think is most beneficial to us at this time, BDELL?
Okay. As I was telling you before, use your emotions as a navigation system,
Right.
meaning that create a reward system for yourself. Don't cut certain things off cold turkey. Like I said, if you still eat certain things that's basically diabolical to your anatomy, you know what I'm saying? Try juicing. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, for the next 3 days, I'm just going to be just drinking juices. That's what I'm doing. Fast every once in a while to where you get away from the emotional attachment of food to where it puts you in a state of discipline. So it's one of those things where, like I said, if you don't have the mental fortitude and the spiritual fortitude to get away from certain foods or whatever, just try fasting. Fast for 2 days, just a water fast.
Right.
That might work for you. But for those who really take their diet seriously or whatever, you know, eat fruits and vegetables, you know what I'm saying? Keep doing what you're doing, you know what I'm saying? Building up your immune system and building up your anatomy to where you can take in these frequencies. Because it's going to come a point in time where the environment is going to be going to become so chaotic is where you're going to have to perform ultra fast internal conversion, meaning that you're going to have to be operating from a place where you're not going to be able to eat food all the time, to where you're just going to have to be eating from the energies within the ethers. So like I said, that's why I'm trying to prepare my body for. I'm trying to go, you know what I'm saying, see if I can go for a week without no food, just juice.
Indeed.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta put yourself in alignment to that, to where, you know, sometimes you gotta make yourself suffer in the form of a sacrifice. You gotta sacrifice the anatomy to tap into your higher self.
Indeed. Yeah, you know what helps me transition away from food and just not pay attention to it. I got to give a special shout out real quick, family, to the brother KT, the arts degree. I truly feel, I don't know if you ever tried his products, but the brother truly has some of the best products on planet Earth.
I got that gold stuff he got.
Okay. Excellent. The brother, that's a blue pill, I think. The gold, the liquid gold.
I thought KT, he has his own version too.
No. That's blue pill right there. That's blue pill with the.
Okay.
KT got
the honey. I got it like last year.
Yeah. Okay. KT got the honey and the sea moss and the you know, phytoplankton and shit like that. KT got some amazing products, y'all. Amazing. So shout out to the brother KT. He has been helping me with my diet a lot lately. I did the fast. We did the fast with the brother in January. My diet has been on point since then, y'all. So I've been feeling a little more alive and vibrant as a result of that. And I want to thank the brother for helping me get my diet. Sometimes I slip up because of my lifestyle. I'm moving around so fast. So shout out to KT for helping me keep focused with my diet. With that being said, hey, BDELL, amazing, wonderful show. Packed house, 3,400 people still up in here. Tell the people your contact info so they can check out your YouTube, Instagram, and everything else you got going on.
Okay, my page on my YouTube is BDELL1014, BDELL1014. That same nomenclature title is on Instagram, BDELL1014. And you can also find me on Facebook, where I do a lot of, like, you know, self-help. Really just good quotes and everything that helps raise up the vibrational consciousness of the planet on Brado Rice Bay on Facebook. So that's where you can find me. I got another video coming out talking about the big event, the Luciferian Great Reset. I'm breaking that down, and that's coming out Sunday on my YouTube channel.
Indeed. Somebody said, how do you get past insecurity at Black? You have to elaborate on that and ask that the next show I do when I do a Q&A, because I think that's something that a lot of people got to touch on, insecurities, but I don't know exactly what you're talking about. And we're about to get out of here right now. Hey, listen, thank you to everybody for tuning in. I just can't say enough how much of a wonderful show this is tonight. With that being said, BDELL, I'm gonna talk to you soon, my brother. Keep up the amazing work that you're doing, brother. Like I said, Yaki mentioned you. I went to your page and I felt the confidence in your words. You was like, I'm gonna be on his show one day. Like, you ain't know me from nothing. I know you, but I'm like, oh, this young brother's confident. And I just got drawn right back to you months later. And I was like, ain't this the dude from earlier, from a couple of months ago? And I was like, that is the dude. So, brother, keep doing your thing. When you vibrate on a certain frequency, nothing can deny you, family. People will be forced